A little. All right.
There you go, Denise. Take it away.
Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to Connecting Community Initiative Committee, April 3rd, 2026 at 6:32 p.m. And Lily, would you read the
Yeah.
prelude,
Did
please?
you say April 3rd or 23rd?
23rd.
Okay. I thought you said April 3rd. I'm like, whoa, I think I'm in the wrong room.
You could have.
Okay. All right. So on that cheery note, I would like to share with everybody that certain meetings normally held at municipal office are being held remotely with adequate alternative means of public access and where required public participation provided in accordance with House Bill number 62 of the 194th General Court, which extended the governor's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 20 until June 30th, 2027. Meetings are typically broadcast on Frontier Community Access Television, FCAT, and are available on YouTube, the town's YouTube channel.
All right. Thank you, Lily. All right. So for meeting guidelines, please speak one at a time, follow Deerfield Code of Conduct, respectful, considerate, courteous, concise, non-repetitive. Please make sure to raise your hand because if not, you will get hollered at. Okay. All right. I'm going to do a roll call. So John Stacy, looks like you're here. Okay. Julie Chalfont is here. Lily's here. Tim's here. Andrew's here. I'm here. Carrie's here. Alex is here. Carolyn's here. So we're just missing in action a few people. Okay.
MA is
Yeah,
usually
well,
here.
MA's not here yet. Mark's not here. Trevor's not here. I know Annalie was trying to send someone, but I don't see anybody. So I guess she was not successful with that for the Historic Commission. Okay. All right. So let's see. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from March 12th? I know it's a while ago. If so, are there any additions, corrections? Carolyn?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
All right. Do we
I
hear a second?
second that.
All right. All in favor? Raise your hand. Okay, great. All right. Sounds good. Okay, I'm going to go on to committee updates. Does anyone have to leave early? If so, you can go first. Nope.
I don't,
Nope.
but I'm a little under the weather, so I'll take you off. if that's
Sure.
okay.
Oh, yeah, please go ahead, Alex.
Um, well, I think first, if you haven't heard, our Complete Streets or Elm Street project is going to be under construction as early as July. So I just want to make sure every committee is aware of that. We anticipate bidding out the project in mid-May. We're kind of going through some final design work with the surveyors. There's just a lot of tricky elevations with the historic development of a lot of the buildings, and the grades are just kind of flat relatively. But it's a full depth reclamation project. Like I said, sorry, we'll have a contractor in June. And construction can start as early as July, and they anticipate a 4 to 6 month construction window. That might wiggle a little bit. We're obviously getting a little later in the year, so we might be dealing with some weather. But the project is relatively in the same timeline as the Leary lot, and that got done in a pretty short amount of time too. So, hoping for good weather, and yeah, we'll get that project started off. So, a lot of my work's been kind of one-on-one outreach with a lot of business owners. So, if you talk to somebody and they haven't heard, send them my way, please, or let me know. And I'm kind of gathering our contact information for our businesses. They only have to get a permit once every 5 years or so, so the contact info is a little hairy. But I want to make sure they're aware because there probably will be some utility disruptions. We're going to move the poles on the south side, so it is really important they're engaged and aware. Let's see, the Stillwater Bridge, that is still on track. It should be bidded out soon. So that'll be exciting. That'll be under construction this summer. And then, one of the good things, the town is designated as a housing community of choice. So that's kind of a pretty exciting thing. Essentially, it opens the door for another grant program opportunity. But it also, because we qualify as a housing community of choice, it actually is kind of essentially like bonus points on other grant applications for like Clean Water Act. And the Housing Community of Choice grant program actually allows for infrastructure improvements, road improvements, housing development, site planning, and it's planning through implementation for any of those types of projects. So it is kind of a cool thing, and really the shout out goes to FERCog for helping us with that one. So I don't think I'll steal Lily's thunder on senior housing. But Lily, the Brownfields grant, I forgot to email you, is we got it scheduled for May 11th at 8:30 in the morning. The contractors will be out to do some hazardous materials building surveying. So we'll actually know, what might need to be abated in the St. James and the Rectory parcels. And then, yeah, I think Tim's got 1888 covered, so I won't bother. And I think those are probably the important parts from Town Hall anyway, so far, that I can think of without stealing others' thunder.
No, that's great. Carolyn?
I just wanted to know, Alex, if you could pass on to Christopher Dunn that I heard, that the FERCog got a $133,000 technical assistance grant. And so I'm hoping that the town will reach out and get first in line because our hazardous mitigation plan has expired back in September. And so if the FERCog is willing to do it, that will save everybody a lot of effort.
Yeah, actually, we sorry, Kellen, I should have sent you an email. We actually did partner with FERCog and submitted a grant application through MEMA, but through not through the BRIC program. It was a different program to hopefully get the hazard mitigation plan done. So I think they
Oh,
already
okay.
had other
Well,
towns
this
signed
is,
up for that more recent one. But they did reach out to us on their farmland action plan. So I'll actually
oh,
probably be sending you an
okay.
email tomorrow or Monday.
All right. Make sure you send it to my Gmail account, not the Hotmail account. I'm still locked out of that one.
Okay, sounds good.
John, question?
Alex, what
Mhm.
is the agency that designates a town a housing community of choice?
It's the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities.
A, a
Um,
state, a state
State.
agency?
Yeah, state
Thank you.
agency. Yeah, of course.
Okay. Any other questions for Alex? Okay. So Alex, if you're feeling under the weather, you don't feel as though you need to stay. Okay.
Yes,
Whatever you
thank
want.
you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Have a good
Yeah,
night.
really. You work hard enough. Okay, thanks. All right. Yeah, poor Alex. All right, so let's see who's next. How about John Stacy? What's happening in library land?
Well, thanks for having me again. We've started, the trustees have started meeting with the strategic planning consultant. The front door works great. And every time I go there, I wave my hand and it opens magically, both on the inside and the outside. Um, and then we've just received an email. Candace has had surgery and she's kind of home and not supposed to be working, but I don't have a lot of details, but she sent us all an email that the company that's working on the elevator is wanting to come and start working on that on May 12th, which is sooner than anticipated. So, like a lot of other things in life, when that starts, there's going to be a timeout because we can't have people in and out of the building when they're building the elevator. But thinking a little long term, that means the building opens 100% sooner than anticipated. So that's, I wouldn't print that in the paper because I don't have the details, but it's a good sign.
Okay. So John, I have a question. So can you back up a minute? And you were talking about they hired someone for strategic planning. Can you expand
Oh,
on that a little?
sure. Okay. Yes, because of the state library regulations, the library is required to have a strategic plan that's renewed every 5 years. Um, and a couple of months ago, the trustees agreed to hire a person, Chelsea, I've forgotten her last name. She's a former director of library in, I think, Heath, PhD student in library studies or library science, and a consultant. And Candace knows her. I think she's worked with her before. And there's a great downside to the library not having an active strategic plan that's renewed every 5 years. And
Okay.
so it's quite a comprehensive process. And like I said at the outset, we've started meeting with Chelsea just this month a couple of times, and it's an extensive process. It includes focus groups, it includes meeting with community members, meeting with the trustees, meeting with the staff. Um, anything else I can tell you?
Yeah, who's paying for that?
It comes out of the Tilton Fund.
Mm, okay. Thank you. I think Tim, you have a question for John?
Yes, I had, and I don't know what's correct, but I had understood that the elevator contractor said that the building didn't need to be empty while they were working.
Okay.
So it could be another situation where the library has decided to do that. Or it could be that what they said in their email has been modified. But it would be nice if the library could stay open.
Absolutely. And I think what I'm saying is based on my imagining having kids in and out of the children's room while the company is going in and out to work on the elevator. But the bottom line is, quite frankly and honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. And you should keep in mind that I am the newest team member there, and so I'm still on a learning curve about the library. But it's exciting either way to think of this getting completed sooner than was anticipated before. But
That's
yeah,
great.
there'll be more information about what the downstream effects of. I'd love for the building to stay open myself. I just don't know.
Okay. Great. Thanks. Does anybody have any other questions for John? Okay. If you think of anything else, you can, let us know. Okay. Thanks, John. Julie, you traveling? She's here. Okay. I'll come back to
Julie,
Julie.
I don't know if you're aware you are muted.
Yeah, I'll come back. I'll come back to Julie. Okay. Let's see. Carolyn.
The MVP grant was submitted. We haven't heard if we got any awards yet or not. But in anticipation that there was a lot of competition and we might not get it, I did meet with DEP representatives about a 604B planning grant. There's no match, and 319, so that which is your implementation part of it. There is a match for that, but I think we're doing enough NRCS work in the Bloody Brook area to be the match. They're very lenient on how you do the match. So we could still do some work potentially in the Bloody Brook, even if we didn't get the MVP grant this round. The Mass Save Act is going through, and that's going to have 500 million for MVP. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That Mass Save or Mass Ready?
I mean, Mass Ready, excuse
Okay.
me. Sorry, getting my voting concerned bills confused with Mass Ready. But yes, Mass Ready, excuse me. And that has 500 million in there for MVP, which is pretty wonderful. That's a huge increase. We've been dealing with like 25 million a year. This would give us 100 million a year over, 5-year period. So this is, and they can give out more in the front and whatever. So it's pretty exciting. That's about it. Oh, and our next meeting is scheduled for May 21st.
Okay. Carolyn, I don't remember. How much were we going for with the MVP grant?
Well, there was two separate applications. One came from the town for the culvert.
Right.
I don't remember what the exact amount was, but it was for design work. It was like in the
Mhm.
70. Tim, do you remember? It was like the 70-ish
Okay.
$1,000 time frame. And then also the Conservation District applied for roughly 400,000 to do planting and work with the elementary school kids and
Okay.
stuff like that. So we'll see how much we get.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you. Well, any money's good money. All right. John,
Carolyn,
question?
what does MVP stand for?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Committee. It's well, in Deerfield, we mostly deal with flooding and heat issues. So and some drought.
Lily?
So,
Thank
did the
thank
Mass
you.
Ready has the
I'm
Mass
sorry.
Ready Act gone through both houses? I knew it
No,
passed
it's
through
just
the
gone,
House.
it's just gone, it passed through the Senate, it's
Senate.
going to
Okay.
the House. There's a lot of
Okay.
support in the House, and so it should be,
Okay. Yeah, I thought that you said that it passed, but I had
oh,
only
I'm
read about
sorry.
the
I
House.
meant pass the Senate.
Okay.
Senate. Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
I got conjumbled with the SAVE Act, so.
John, did you have another question? I think we
No, I
cut you
just
off.
wanted to thank Carolyn for her work on that.
Okay. All right.
Well, we're not giving up that we don't have money. The Farm Bill is on hold. Unfortunately, the feeling is from the Northeast delegation, both the House and the Senate, is that it's better not to have a Farm Bill than a bad one for the next 5 years. So even though the Farm Bill is sitting in the Senate, I'm thinking that probably nothing is going to happen until the Senate changes over, which hopefully will happen in January. And then the basic problem is there's no SNAP. Well, SNAP has been pretty much eliminated. And some of the conservation district monies, NRCS monies have, floated to the commodity payments, and it's not a really great farm bill. So I'm agreeing, even though it's been expired since 2023. So
Okay.
it's crazy.
All right. Thanks. So, Carrie, what's happening with the school committee?
Alrighty. So since my last report, the Deerfield Committee met quickly to approve our budget at an increase of 3.81%. That was the same budget that I mentioned in my report last time. It is a reduction from the level services budget. Just as a reminder, that would be accomplished by reducing a few positions, reducing reading interventionist positions from 3 to 2, moving from 3 sixth grade classrooms to 2, and then reducing some PE teacher hours. And that is all possible because the school population has declined rather significantly over the past decade. So we're making these changes, but there shouldn't be an impact in student services. So luckily the timing worked out that we were able to make these changes in a year where we needed to without an impact on the school. And then after that, earlier in April, we met the joint Frontier Regional Union 38 committees met. That is all 5 committees, school committees meeting together, the 4 towns plus Frontier. We do that usually once a year, and that's an opportunity for us to take care of business that works best if all committees are in agreement on it. We get together, we vote on it, and hopefully come to an agreement. That's things like the school calendars for next year. We review the professional development plans from last year and proposals for next year. And we do an evaluation of the superintendent every 2 years. That's a thing school committees are required to do. We all have input on it. We together come up with a rating for the superintendent and send it on to the state. We also had an update on regionalization. We haven't moved forward in our conversation on that. I just wanted to bring it up because I have mentioned it in the past. We had talked about it last year. The school's lawyer presented some proposals for something that would work for communities like ours without major changes. We left it last year that we would maybe do some quick numbers and see if it's even something we want to talk about. And then sort of we ran into a tough year with the the health insurance costs spiking last summer and then going into budget season. So we really haven't made any further changes. This conversation we had a couple weeks ago was to confirm that we do still want to keep thinking about it, but there's been no further. The ball has not rolled further. That's what I've got.
Wow. Well, I know all the towns are having a hard time this year with the budget, so that may move things along a little bit with regionalization conversation.
Yeah, there would be hopefully some cost savings, especially once you take into account the state refunds, transportation once you've regionalized. But it's mostly efficiency. It's a time issue. It would make the job much easier for administration, and having to find 5 school committee members in 4 small towns. If it was just a few, it would be easier to fill those spots. Oh, on that note, I think we do not have anyone yet running a write-in campaign for the open school committee seat this year. So if anyone knows someone they would like to recommend to run a write-in campaign for the school committee, give them a nudge.
I don't know. We'll spread the word. Tim, question?
I wondered, Carrie, if you could flesh out what you talked about in regionalization last year. I mean, what are we talking about? We already have a high school, so are we talking about?
So
go ahead.
There's possibilities where perhaps the 4 town elementary schools would regionalize into an official thing. We're at Union 38 now, which doesn't have a lot of weight. It would mean local, we could set it up so that each town maintains local control over their own budget for the schools. But it would allow things like right now, you have like a strings teacher who spends 2 days a week in Deerfield and 2 days a week in Sunderland and 1 in Conway or whatever. And they're like a 0.2 employee with one town and a 0.2 employee with another town and a 0.1 employee with another town. It would let that person be employed by one entity of the regionalized district. So that's what it doesn't, we're not looking at consolidating buildings ever, probably, hopefully. It would be each town keeps their own elementary school and their own control over the budget. Just more like at the upper level, more efficiencies of who's having to do the work over and over again. Fewer meetings, fewer budgets that have to be submitted and filled out, that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, keep us posted on that. That's pretty interesting. All right. Julie, are you ready?
Maybe. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Hey. My phone was muted and my car was muted, and I was having difficulties with that.
Oh, gosh.
But I appear to have figured it out. Anyways, so Finance Committee is still finalizing the budget. We will be meeting next Monday, and I hope it will be complete then, and then we will go through all of the warrant articles. We are scraping up the nickels from under the couch cushions. We have spent pretty much all of our free cash on operating budget. So we had the opportunity over the past year or so to put some money away into capital stabilization. And we are using that to pay for the capital items that have come up this year. And there's a couple other funds that we have been able to tap into to pay for a couple of items, but we're really scraping it this year. We will be able to fund the full budget with the funds that we have in hand, but we're in a position that we've been in for several years, in that we're paying for recurring expenses using one-time funds, which is not really a sound financial practice. And it is really exacerbated this year, from the big increase in healthcare costs. If you add up what we spent at fall town meeting and what Frontier is spending, you know, our portion of what Frontier's spending, and then what we're spending on our town employees and the elementary school, it's north of $500,000 increase, which is challenging to come up with. And then the SCEMS budget came in pretty high this year because we bought that ambulance out of retained earnings at fall town meeting. So that means retained earnings were not available to help pay down their budget at all. So it's a challenging year. And you're going to see on the warrant a warrant article. So we'll have the omnibus budget that will cover, you know, everything as is, the way we've been doing business, and then there'll be 2 Prop 2.5 overrides that you'll see on the warrant. One of them is for the new building the South County Senior Center wants to move into in Sunderland. So that would be an extra 103,000 and change for upgrades to that building. So people will get an up-down vote on South County Senior Center moving to that building. And then there's another one that will be a Prop 2.5 override for basically to move the South County EMS off of free cash into raise and appropriate, which is where it should be. So that would increase the property taxes to cover that. Yeah, that's probably it.
Wow. Lily?
Sorry, I had to admit MA. So, Julie, right now, SCEMS is surviving on like retained earnings and stuff. And so then if we move SCEMS into the omnibus budget, do those earnings then come into the town still?
So,
I mean,
no.
what happens to them? Okay.
Let's see. So I don't know how far you want me to go. There's the SCEMS budget, which pays for everything, personnel and all their stuff and everything. They get some money in charges they make to people's insurance, and that covers some portion of what they do. And then the remainder gets charged to the towns, divided kind of by population. So we pay about 51, 52%, somewhere in there of that remainder. That 50% of the remainder for the past few years has been between $400,000 and $500,000. We are paying for that out of free cash. So if we move that into the budget, if we do a Prop 2.5 override to cover that frees up $400,000 that we would have been taken out of free cash for capital expenses or something like that. The retained earnings piece, I'm sorry, I'm not coherently explaining this, but retained earnings is like free cash for SCEMS. So if we pass in our budget that we're going to give $500,000 to SCEMS, we give $500,000 to SCEMS regardless of what they actually spend. Like it just gets transferred over there. Whatever we put in our budget to give them, that's what we give them. Then in the course of the year, if they get more, more payments from insurance companies, or they save money or something, that becomes their retained earnings. The philosophy is supposed to be that retained earnings builds up for a few years and then they use it to buy an ambulance. They have done that some, but they have also used it to bring down the amount that they're charging to the towns. which means then they don't necessarily have retained earnings that they can spend on an ambulance. So there's a couple things happening. One is that they're talking about, and I think it's on the warrant this year, putting into place basically a capital stabilization fund for SCEMS, which will be used to pay for an ambulance. So they'll be more disciplined about putting aside, I think it's $125,000 a year that they need to put aside in order to buy a new ambulance every 3 years. So if they put that in there, it's set aside and cannot be spent on anything other than capital. And then we won't be tempted to take the retained earnings and reduce the fees to the towns. I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
did I answer your question? I just babbled
Yes.
for a
Yeah,
while.
no, you really did, because yes,
Okay.
and it is
Good.
it is complicated. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm honestly not convinced yet about the Prop 2.5 override. It'll be an interesting discussion next week when we talk about it among the people on finance.
Yeah. Carrie, question?
Julie, I have a question about the overrides, and maybe you're the right person to answer it. For the senior center override, all 3 towns have to approve it at meetings and at the ballot box, correct? And so if Deerfield approves it, but one of the other towns does not, then it just undoes itself?
Yeah, so Whately can do it without an override. So that's just in their budget. Sunderland's town meeting is to know before we go to town meeting whether it passed their town meeting.
Okay.
But yeah, so that piece of it, but you're right, it has to pass for us in Sunderland, it has to pass both at town meeting and at the ballot box. It's a 50%. It's not, when we've done them before, they've been 2/3, but that's because it was for borrowing, like for the library or something, we had to have a 2/3 majority. This is a straight, just a what do you call it? A plain old majority. 50%, not 2/3.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tim, you had your hand up, I think, first, and then MA. No, Tim. Okay. All right, MA.
Is the SCEMS budget being taken over by Deerfield? It's a dumb question, I know, and I'm way behind the eight ball, but
I don't
it's
understand the question.
it's staying a separate district still, right? It's not
Yes.
being.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No, the structure's not changing at all.
I read it briefly. The reason I was asking is because if it becomes part of Deerfield's budget and Deerfield is in charge of that budget, then we would have to include it in our in these climate leader.
Oh no, it's staying a district.
Okay, good.
Its own district, yeah.
But it would have just changed to how we did business in relation to.
I probably used the wrong word. It's not a district like the fire district. It's Tim, help me out. You can probably say this better than I can.
I don't know.
There's an IMA, intermunicipal agreement that covers its operation.
Right. So it's an enterprise, but it's not. I don't think district. I don't know what the exact legal term is.
But mainly it isn't Deerfield's. That's the one I'm most concerned about. So.
Okay. So Tim,
Deerfield solely Deerfield.
Do you have your hand up for real this time,
I'm
Tim?
trying.
It's weird because you're going back and forth with the
Yeah,
hand
well,
up and the hand
it's
down.
because I'm on the SCEMS boo, so I figured I could answer SCEMS questions.
Okay.
But Carolyn could too, because she was on the boo for a lot longer than I was.
Well, what's the question?
I was just going to say Deerfield handles the budget, is the lead community, so it's considered under Deerfield guidance. So it is a little confusing, MA, but it is separate. It is an enterprise fund that is separate, and the money is separate. So even though Deerfield administers it. It's, you know, their employees are employees of the town. It's town insurance, all that kind of stuff. It still is considered separate, but it is not a district. So it's not that separate.
Yeah, so
Semi-separate.
I guess I'd probably have to get an opinion from DOER as to whether, but we don't control the whole budget. We just control Deerfield section. So I think we're safe. I think that's
Okay.
what the big thing is.
Okay. All right. Tim, go ahead.
So, the override is one of these things that, you know, various members of the select board and the finance committee have talked about in the past 2 or 3 years. And the reason why SCEMS was looked at this year is because of how tight the free cash situation was. So basically, it doesn't affect anything other than the way in which we raise funds to pay for it. So rather than hoping that we have a lot of free cash, which we typically do, there would actually be a tax levy increase to make sure that there's money to pay for the SCEMS portion. So, you know, voters will decide about that.
Okay. Who's going to speak to that at town meeting?
I probably will be the one presenting the article.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Carolyn, question?
I just want to say the reason the override is probably the good way to handle this is because you're correcting a structural. It's not a temporary, this is a permanent increase to the tax levy when you do an override, and this is a structural change. So it's okay to do an override for this kind of thing. It's not okay to use an override as a temporary Band-Aid kind of thing for your operating expenses when you do no changes to correct it or make it sustainable. But this is a structural change. You're bringing in the SCEMS to our regular budget. And so therefore it is justifiable to have an override.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. Okay. All right. Any other questions for Julie? Is there anything else you want to let us know, Julie, as if that's not enough? You guys have been working so hard. Okay. Well, if anyone does, you can pipe up. So in the meantime, Andrea, open space. Anything new and exciting? You're muted. You're still muted.
Aware. Sorry.
Okay.
The Open Space Committee met on the 13th of April. We wanted to let people know that Open Space Committee is having a history talk with David Brule on May 2nd. It's happening at the town hall. We got Cultural Council money to do that. And so we're very pleased about that. That's part of the being more, including Indigenous people, more into the discussion about how open space is in our area. We also talked at that meeting about exploring potential river access, Deerfield River access, looking at a space on Mill Village Road, which right now I haven't tried to walk it because trees have fallen down everywhere and it's hard to reach that, but we are looking into that. We're going to talk to probably DPW, see if there's some way we can clear this area. It's a little strip of land the town owns on Mill Village Road and at the Deerfield River. We also talked about the challenges of starting a playground subcommittee. The Recreational Committee will not contact me. I have tried multiple times. We have the Open Space Committee voted unanimously to create this new subcommittee. Cassie gave us some guidelines, been talking to Alex, and the thought was that we would have one member from the Open Space Committee, one member from the Rec Committee, and then up to 5 community members. We're going to start. Today I finally sent email to folks who have expressed interest. And we're just going to start. And if the rec committee wants to participate, they need to step up. And the last thing is that, the Open Space Committee is very interested in establishing a conservation fund along with the Conservation Commission. And we talked about our thoughts about that. That was what a large part of the meeting was about. We're going to be talking about it, at town meeting, probably at this May 2nd talk with David Brule. There'll be some members of the Open Space Committee there to discuss that if people care to. And we're hoping that will get passed. Any questions? Lily?
Yeah.
One question. What time is the talk on May 2nd?
I believe it is at 11, but I'm not positive. It's Saturday. It's a Saturday. I think it's at 11. I can't remember if it's at, I think it's 11 to 12:30, but, and I think committee members are supposed to be there at 10 to help set up. So I think there is there's a flyer about this that I think is on the Open Space Committee's portion of the website. So you could.
It is at 11.
It's at 11. Thank you.
Okay. And the other point I wanted to make is that another place where you will be discussing the conservation fund is Julie Capswell is going to be representing it at the Meet the Issues community conversation this Sunday. Doors at 2:45. Admission is free. It goes from 3 to 5 at the Meeting House, which is the former Congregational Church on North Main Street. Cookies are served.
All right.
I thought I'd seize the moment, but that's a great place with speed dating and stuff like that. That's the format, so people can ask questions in a very informal way, which can be less intimidating.
Andrew, do you have a flyer for that already?
There is a flyer. I was talking about for David. So we've been working on multiple flyers.
Well, but if it would be good to have that flyer that you can put on the table for Sunday. Okay.
Agreed.
Great. Yeah, because we have multiple flyers.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Andrea? No? Good. Okay. I'm surprised at the rec committee. I mean, did you get in touch with Gabby?
Gabby is on the rec department. She's not the rec committee.
Oh, so there's a whole, I didn't realize there was a
committee. Yes. I talked to
but isn't Gabby in charge of the rec committee?
No.
Oh, God.
No.
Okay.
No.
That doesn't make any sense.
I think
Lily, go ahead.
Because I can explain this because CPC has had this problem for years with the rec committee that they do not show up and they're supposed to be on the community preservation committee. And Gretchen has been better, but is still more absent than present. And and this is a real problem. I think part of it was that the committee used to meet only once a year. And
they haven't met for months. I got in touch with Gretchen and I said, I'd love to talk to you to explain what we're doing. I'd love to come to a committee meeting so I could explain. Nothing. And I look to see when they have a meeting scheduled and they don't. So, and it's time to start moving on this.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just another question. Okay, I'm a little confused. What is the purpose of the rec committee if they maybe meet once a year? What do they actually do?
I think they're involved with the Tri-County. Well, no, Tri-County by town beach.
No,
Tri-Town Beach. No.
Okay. Well,
Carolyn.
That has its own committee.
Okay. Yeah, Carolyn.
The rec committee is supposed to supervise the rec department head director, and we've always had problems with trying to get an active committee. They're supposed to set, what they do for sports, what sports programs are available, that whole kind of thing, and it just hasn't worked that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're hoping that things will improve once Gabby has only one job.
Yeah, well, that seems totally absurd, and maybe someone, I don't know who, in the town administration should take a look because it seems like it's ridiculous. But that just surprises me.
my lack of contact known to not only Alex, but also to Christopher Dunn.
Good.
So
Okay.
he knows that I'm
Okay.
frustrated.
Thanks, Andrea, and thanks for that clarification. I no idea. Okay. MA, what? Oh, Carolyn, go ahead.
I just want to say the way we got them to turn out is we would always try to defund the rec department and the rec director's line item, and then they would all show up at a selectmen's meeting. So that was
Okay.
one way to get them to meet.
I say
Yeah.
kick them all off and start fresh, but oops, we're being recorded. Well, Okay, MA, what's going on with climate? You're muted.
Not a lot's going on. We're sort of on pause to know where we're going with climate leader. And, at that point, we'll probably really jump in. The next roadmap grant application is July 31st, I think.
Okay.
And hopefully we have it completely done by then. But I mean, not everything we can possibly do without the assistance of a grant. But it means our application is going to be later than it might be because we missed one of the deadlines,
Okay.
the spring one, which is unfortunate, but it happened. I think partly because Allison Gage and Ted Harvey were switching places. And so there was some miscommunication. I'm not blaming them. It was probably the Energy Committee's fault. Other than that, we're very panicked about, we just put in the Frontier grant for a building management system for green communities that's valued at about, that'll cost and not, if we go back to if we eliminate the stretch code, that'll be about $300,000 in Frontier's budget because they have to do it. The building management system is too old. So that has us worried. Lily.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So you kind of left out a big piece
Yes,
in a
I
way.
did.
All right. So I guess I just wanted to clarify that you have submitted a grant for Frontier because we are a green community. And your worry is that should that warrant article pass that reverts us to the base building code, we will no longer be a green community and we will not be eligible for that grant. Is that what
Correct.
you're saying? Okay, thank you.
Yes. Thank you. I'm used to talking to people who know what's going on. Sorry.
Right.
So that has us very worried. And in order to qualify for the climate leader, you have to be a green community. So it would also take us off
Right.
of that list and put us back to square one on getting everything repassed, I think, if we did that. So, yes.
Sorry, just
Lily?
taking notes. Again, how much is the Frontier Building Systems grant for? Did you say it was 300?
It's about $300,000.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't have the exact number in front of me. But I mean, that's pretty much, we're just sort of in a holding pattern right now.
Okay.
The other thing is, Carrie, if the zero emissions, the vehicle zero ZEV passes at town meeting, we are going to be asking the school committee to also pass that, which is part of our requirements. Also why I was worried about SCEMS, because I was worried that they would also have to pass the zero emissions. I think the vehicles that the school committee owns are pretty minimal. It's just the elementary school, but we will be coming to you if it passes the school committee and asking you all to also pass. And if I can talk to you offline about what it is and what's going on.
Sure, it's just vehicles that are owned by the school, so not the school buses that we contract out for.
No. Just anything that's private,
Okay.
and nothing to do with school buses. Only any vehicles and it's only if you're replacing anything, then you need to consider the most fuel efficient vehicle possible, which you would do anyhow. So I mean, it's not too steep a hill to climb.
Okay. Well, once that passes at town meeting, then you can have a conversation with Carrie about that.
Yes.
Yes.
Or whenever she wants.
Positive. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Thanks, Emma. Anybody have any more questions for that? I guess it's just going to be a pretty exciting town meeting. I can't wait. Okay. Tim, what have you been up to?
You did say Tim.
Yes, I did.
Okay. So 1888 buildings moving ahead. They're largely complete inside the original building in the sense of everything but the dropped ceilings are all of the architecturally replicatable windows are in, and except for this one big square one. There's some problems with the roofing subcontractor who's been unresponsive. So it's possible that the general contractor will ask the town if they can try to backfill with a different roofing contractor. We're supposed to know whether they actually have material on site. They should have been on site 3 months ago. And it's beginning to hold up work on the addition. So I'll know more about that next Tuesday. The SCEMS chief is not re-upping, is leaving in June 22nd. So we have the position out seeking applicants. Apparently there are 5 at this point. And we hope to begin private screening of the applicants. A member from Deerfield Police, I think Sunderland Police and Whately Fire will be the screening committee. We're also looking to fill a paramedic position. One person has decided to go back to school to become an RN, so it's dropped away from full-time to per diem. And the select board will be working with the town administrator and the outgoing chief to screen applicants and hire somebody. The Tilton Solar, the Tilton Library Building Advisory Committee met and selected a solar contractor to put like a 30K system on the front-facing addition roof. We've recommended that the select board award the contract contingent on funding being approved at town meeting. Essentially, that's a short-term loan. The library is on track to get LEED certification, which has $100,000 payment if we qualify for that, and solar is possibly going to push us up to a higher level, which might deliver another $20,000. So a total of 120. And as Julie mentioned, the solar project is in the capital budget and it's being recommended for funding, and there are a couple of sources that we could use short-term funding for. The bid came in at 90,000. There are 30% federal credit and another 10% credit, but we have to have the full amount of money up front, and we will be having DA Sullivan be the general contractor for this to control, so we don't have to do the administrative work on it. So that will probably add a 10% premium. So 100,000 project, 100,000 from lead certification, and the town gets its money back relatively quickly.
Mhm.
One of the advantages is that the solar company that was awarded the contract is also been awarded the contract on the 1888 building. So they will be using the same types of equipment, and they will be controlling both of the buildings, which are very close to each other. So hopefully that will inure in our favor in terms of if there are issues, we will be, have a one-stop shop sort of
Mhm.
situation.
Hey, Tim, I've got a question about the solar. You said on the front part of the building. I thought when we had a discussion before, I don't know whether it was here, that they were going to put some on the back as well.
It turns out that once you increase a certain size, once you reach a certain size,
Mm-hmm.
Eversource doesn't have to pay you as much money for the energy you generate. It's like a 40% decrease.
Yeah.
So it becomes not really worth
Mhm.
spending the money to get the small benefit, and it affects the total. So we made the decision that maximize the space and the production capability of the front section and let it go at that.
Okay. Thank you. I think Lily, you've got a question?
Yeah, you said it's been awarded, but you did not say to whom or to what company.
PV Squared.
Okay, so
Mm.
Pioneer Valley Photovoltaic. They're PV squared now.
Yeah.
Right. And I've been working with Christopher Dunn to give official status to the Meeting House building. We are working, they had started working on policies for individual groups to use it.
Yeah.
I'm putting forward that we should have the Meeting House small stage. And since John Stacy's here and he plays guitar, I just put a bug in his ear that we'll be looking for, people willing and able to come and perform. And I've been in touch with Gabby Harrington about rec department input. And we just want to make sure that people know the building is there, it is being used, it is a community center. And then the large stage would be in the sanctuary building once we start repairing that. So, we may have an official announcement about what we're going to call the place and what it's going to be used for, and that the rec department will be doing programming. Possibly the Pilates class that the rec department holds will be able to move in there and so forth, because there was some confusion at a recent meeting that the building wasn't actually being used. So this should clarify that, and it should help with help understanding of residents when we bring future plans to repair the sanctuary, and also add weight to the CPA application to fix the steeple and do engineering on the structural components of the Meeting House space. I mean the sanctuary space.
Lily?
There's a fabulous kitchen in there, but I think that the oven isn't hooked up. Do you know what the plan is around that?
It's not a commercial kitchen, so it is. It hasn't been set up because the library didn't intend to use it. So probably what we will do is reach out to Manny's, which is where we acquired all of the appliances and the various components of the kitchen space, and see about having them come in and finish the setup. And so that's a kitchen that can be used for heating up food that's prepared elsewhere, but it's not a safe serve kitchen.
Okay.
So, and we would have to make sure that people who offered food there had some safe serve training. And Andrea might be able to speak to this.
Serve safe.
It's serve safe.
Serve safe, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it always says, safe serve. Sorry, I meant it the other way around.
Yeah, we got it.
I'm sometimes dyslexic at this hour.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. And then that's it.
All right. Any other questions for Tim? Lily?
Since Trevor isn't here, I will address this to you, Tim. Is there anything going on with the old Deerfield sewer plant?
Currently, we have a phased approach that's been suggested. We have a price of approximately $9 million and change. If the project that has been proposed was undertaken all at once, that's what it would cost. Basically, what it is a system upgrade. First phase being brand new electrical system to attach to all of the pumps and circulation devices and aerators and lights and so forth, and an upgrade on what Trevor likes to call the headworks, where when the effluent comes in, if it has, diapers or clothes or, it screens all that stuff out so that it doesn't plug up the works. And right now it has to be done manually. And then the second phase and the third phase would be working on the aerators and working on the systems for neutralizing bad microbes, turning it into clean wastewater.
So who's paying for all of this?
Well, nobody's paying for it yet because we don't have an agreement on what we're going to do. There is, of course, a plan to talk to the private schools and remain optimistic that we will have a solution to these things. We did apply for a grant, I believe, for part of this initial work. Trevor would know the answer about what that, it's like in the 500,000 range, but it wouldn't cover the first cost. And if we don't do it all at once, it would be more expensive. So combination of, working with the nonprofits to pay a large portion of this and or increasing system rates or borrowing money, USDA loans. So the first part was to get a plan.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Tim?
Yep, I'm sticking to the land of poop for a minute here. There was a pipe from the South Deerfield sewer plant that had that huge erosion problem.
The affluent pipe.
Yeah,
that has been, we put in for a couple of different financing mechanisms. One is seeking a grant through Markey's office. I'm not Markey, but McGovern, for a grant to fix that. And that proposal went out, it was due last month and it went out, so it's dependent on congressional action. And then I think there's another pathway to pay for that at some point. But it's a problem that is larger and it's not really, it's clean water that's going to the river. It's just not going to the river the right way.
Right.
So it has a potential for erosion, although the water that comes out of the system is slow speed.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I don't
Yeah.
know the particulars of that either.
Well, Tim, it's the effluent pipe, and then it's some other things that are connecting to that. I don't recall the exact thing, but it's not just the pipe. It's a few other
Right. I mean,
things.
it's it's a water management system
Yeah.
upgrade that's
Yep.
seems logical to do at the same time you fix the effluent pipe.
Right.
It wouldn't necessarily have to commingle the things, but if somebody
Mhm.
is going to do the work, you might as well get it all done at the same time. Because I do think that the surface water around the sewer plant itself is the pipe that is causing more erosion. It's not the effluent pipe. So if we could pull them together and have them push the water out in one pipe, it would make more sense.
Yeah. Pretty exciting stuff. Okay, Lily, how about your report?
Okay, well,
We're doing well with time.
Okay, so I'll start off with senior housing. We had a site visit last Wednesday, and we had 5 groups that were interested. The other exciting thing Alex mentioned is Alex got us a Brownfields grant, and they're going to begin work within the next couple of weeks and what they're doing is they're identifying any special areas that require remediation and stuff for the removal of the buildings. And I'm using the term removal because we are also going to be working on developing an RFP to bring to the select board to seek people to remove the building, and they could be either take the building away or demolish it if nobody wants to take the buildings, plural, away. So we're calling it removal. But it's really good to have the Brownfields grant because that way, if anybody wants the building itself, they need to understand what's in it, or if they're willing to demolish it, they need to understand that. So that's really cool. We we have begun work on gathering an archive on the buildings. Okay. In the event that the buildings are demolished, we will be required to have archived the history of the building. The idea is that should a student in the future want to know about the buildings, they should be able to go to this archive. There should be pictures and documentation of when it was built, etc., etc. And so we've begun work on that. Carolyn is taking the lead on a bunch of that. Unfortunately, like the photos, the church took the stained glass windows and things like that. So, but maybe they have some in their archive, and so Blake knows someone who's I guess a deacon, and he was going to have them find out if the church has any historical documents. So we're just trying to get all the ducks in a row to make this as easy as possible. So our next steps are to develop the RFP for the building removal, to continue to press the state on trying to get them to see the light that working on senior housing is a way of moving their farmland protection interests forward as well. But we thought we're sort of putting that on hiatus until we find out about if we get any RFP responses. Not if, when. The other very interesting thing, Alex mentioned that we've been designated a housing community of choice, which the real designation is a rural community housing of choice. And that we come under special different requirements and stuff. And one of the things that we discovered working with the Conway School of Landscape Design is that our septic bylaws are much more stringent than the state requires. And so we are working on identifying where they diverge, and our thought being that there is potential, we don't know, but this may be a way if we get our septic bylaws more in line with the state bylaws that maybe it'll be easier to build ADUs on on sites that have septic systems. And so we're actually starting to work on that and just doing the donkey work of identifying where the divergence is and be bringing that forward. So that seems, we're trying to get really creative. We're desperately trying to get senior housing in this town. All right, so any questions about senior housing?
Nope.
Thank you for those clapping hands, Tim. We feel appreciated. Oh, Carolyn, you have a question.
No, it's really not a question. Just one of the reasons the septic bylaws are more strict is because of our water table. And so one of the things that we might be pursuing is zones like Whately Road. You can't do anything there because of the water table is so high. So, but maybe in West Deerfield you could do something. So it's the idea is to be more, like Lily said, to be more creative, but not necessarily weaken our bylaws that would potentially create public health issues.
Our bylaws are painted with a really broad brush, and so we would need to get levels of specificity around the percolation and the soils and all that kind of stuff. And so our bylaws just say you can't build a turkey hill, right? But maybe you can, So anyway, yeah. So that's the fun stuff. Tim, did you have your hand up?
No, but I wouldn't stop clapping, so I put my hand up to stop my clapping.
Oh, oh, you don't need to stop clapping.
Oh my God.
Okay. So then, Community Preservation Committee. All of our applications have been approved for the town meeting votes. There's a number of them. I did see one of the applications is for the restoration of the TAC building that was the enormous triptych in the St. James Church, and that has been sitting in the church forever, but it got moved out. It was moved out in the last couple of days, which is great because while it was in there, it was vandalized, and that's really a shame. But so that's one of the ones. The Conservation Fund is one, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's the Meeting House Church, and then there's always, as usual, a number of cemeteries. So our next steps are to take a breath. We had a really intense year. Kathy Sylvester has been phenomenal. She's a phenomenal taskmistress, I'll put it that way. Anyway, so our next steps are to review the application and modify it for the next round. Review our plan and hold our annual public meeting to review the plan and seek input. All of which is going to happen after town meeting because nobody wants to talk to anybody until that's done. Any questions?
Lily, I have a question about the TAC painting. I mean, I did read the article, and I think they were describing it as, it's going to go and be displayed at PVMA. But then I also heard that it will, but then it will be stored. So I have a question about that. Mm-hmm. How is that? What's actually happening with that?
So any Deerfield resident will always have access to it, but you may have to go and ask for it because but
that's a big painting. How do you have access to it if it's not up there?
They have a storage space apparently. And the way that it was explained to us was that they have a lot of stuff in their collection, right?
Mhm.
And so they have a place where stuff is stored.
Right.
And like when students or anybody wants
Mhm.
access to it, then they go and get it. So they said that they want to ultimately have it permanently displayed, but that
Mhm.
and they have some ideas for where it might go right now, but they can definitely store it until they have a permanent display, and in its storage site, it will be accessible to all residents of Deerfield.
Well, okay, thank you. I really do question that. I mean, it's a pretty expansive painting, so I don't know how you can look at it when it's stored, and that's to the tune of $5,000. So, okay, I think that really needs to be made clear when someone is describing that.
Well, they're gonna, I mean, yeah, they're,
Well, I don't want it, to mislead people thinking, oh, it's going to be there. We're putting $5,000, which I mean, in the grand scheme of things, is
yeah,
not a lot of money, but
no,
still.
it's gonna be
Anyway,
50,000 to restore it. So,
I know, but 5,000 from CPA.
right, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
All
So
right. Okay.
it's our community contribution to it.
Right.
And
Okay.
I know some people are gonna have problems with the content of the
Right.
painting as
Yeah.
well, being
Yeah.
funded by,
Religious.
separation of church and state and stuff.
Yep.
Yes, it's going to be a fun town meeting.
I know. I'm pumped. I can't wait. Okay.
Bring
All
your
right.
popcorn. Okay, that's
Any
it for me.
questions? Any questions for Lily? If not, I'm going to move back. I think Tim has something else he wanted to.
Sorry, yeah, in my list, I forgot to mention that um, with the possibility of votes at Sunderland and or Deerfield not approving a move to Sunderland, the fallback position is, I guess, the status quo, which is to stay in the building they're currently at. That's the senior center budget that's actually in our omnibus budget. So the town has been getting bids for various work that would need to be done for whatever future use the town hall building will have. So we've got bids for painting, bids for encapsulating. The sunken floor has tiles from when the school was built or something like that that are identified as potential asbestos containing tiles. So we've got two bids at the moment for encapsulating. One is for putting industrial floor planking over it, which would be a vinyl product. And then there's also a bid that we're waiting for an epoxy solution, which would flow epoxy over the surface and have a seamless seal. We've also been looking at the ramp to make it ADA compliant. In 2020, probably during COVID, I think there was an ADA compliance plan that was developed, and Christopher Dunn has broken that out and shared it with people. It outlines what needs to be done, and there is since we have it in our ADA plan, there's an opportunity that we might be able to get up to $200,000 to do the ADA compliance work, which would be putting in a new ramp, possibly opening all of the bathroom doors to the ADA compliant width, doing some upgrades on the actual plumbing fixtures in the various bathrooms, and any other ADA work. That one of the ADA things that you wouldn't necessarily think of is that if they were staying at the town hall, we would have had to put in a 36-inch high window at the treasurer's window, for instance. That might not be necessary if it becomes a different use. So it's exciting that there is a plan and a possible source of money to help us defray the cost of adapting the building.
No, that's great. Any questions for Tim on that?
And
Guess we'll
yeah,
just
and Julie's
wait and
been
see.
part of this process too. She's been
Yeah.
very helpful about trying to look at ways to improve the building.
No, that's great. Okay, all right. So let's see, we've got about 10 minutes left. I just have a few things. I know, unfortunately, a few people were not able to make it. And Mark Brennan, who is chair of CIPC, there's not much to say. I mean, we finished our CIPC recommendations and presented them last week to the Joint Select Board Finance Committee. So I know that, well, I think it's probably common knowledge Mark is going to be running for town moderator. So he will be getting off all his committees. So, because I guess it would be a conflict of interest. So he'll no longer be in the finance, ZBA, or CIPC. So we'll see what happens with that. See what happens with CIPC. Who's going to do that? Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, unfortunately, well, Pete was not able to make it. So I don't know what's going on with Concom. I know he was out of town. So I know they're always crazy busy. So, and ZBA, Mark usually talks about that. And if not, then Alex, but she's not here. So, excuse me, I don't know if there's anything exciting happening on ZBA right now. Planning board has been pretty quiet. I think at our meeting next month, we will be, excuse me, talking about trying to get funding for the master plan, which we all know is like way overdue, and continuing the conversation on our ADUs. Alex we did work with the Conway School of Landscape. Anyway, they were great. It was a really interesting process. So that sort of was feeding into our ADU plan. So I guess, we'll continue that conversation. We may have a few possible bylaw changes, little updates that we may do for our special town meeting, but we'll be discussing that at our next meeting. That's about it for that. And then I do have, since Anna Lee was unable to make it, or the people that she asked to come didn't come. So let's see, what does she have? The display cabinet, I don't know where this is. I guess in town. The display cabinet now has locks, and we'll put a display cabinet from DHC archives. I don't know what that means.
So, Denise,
Yep.
with David Brule talk, there was discussion about the arrowheads, et cetera, that the town has. So I think that may be what the display cases are involved with. And the question is, where will they go? When we move into the new town hall? Do they go into the town hall? Do they go somewhere else?
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Let's see what else. She said they continue to research issues related to designating as an historical district a portion of South Deerfield Town Center. Yeah, well, yeah, that'll be interesting. I did. Emma?
Does a statue go with the arrowheads?
I have no idea.
Good question.
Well, I think all that will be answered when the building is finished. She also said they're researching replacement upgrades of cemetery signage. So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, I mean, the historic district, that's interesting. That's not so easy to do. And there are lots of requirements, and I'm sort of interested to see what happens with that. All right, that's all I have. I guess if anyone else has other questions that haven't been answered, speak now. And if not, we should talk about our next meeting, which obviously will not happen until way after town meeting. Let's see. May 11th. I don't know. Suggestions, Lily? What do you think? Do we want to do something at the end of May? Like May 28th?
I think so. Yeah, that would make sense because it will be after town meeting, it'll be after elections.
Yep.
When do committees get reappointed? Is that usually June, Tim?
Yeah, right after.
So this would be there may be a change of folks in the meeting after. So yeah, it'd be good to have one at maybe May 28th.
I know we've got a meeting MVP on the 21st. And that's at 4 p.m. I mean, we could potentially have it on the 21st.
Let's have it on the 28th.
28th
at 6:30 if that works for everybody.
Yeah, how's that? That's fine with me. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to do May 28th at 6:30.
I'll put it in the.
All right. Okay. I think we're all set. Do I hear a motion?
I
I'll
move
make
that
that
we.
motion.
I
to
second
adjourn.
that emotion.
Okay, and everyone,
I think we're supposed to actually say our names or something.
We're supposed to vote. but-
Yeah,
oh,
we are.
okay, yeah, I wasn't really, okay, Lily,
Yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Emma, you're muted. John,
Yes.
I read her lips. She said yes.
okay, and Julie,
Yes.
I'm gonna read Julie's lips too, yes. All right, thanks,
All right.
everyone, good
Yep,
meeting.
good night, all.
Good
See you
night.
next
Night.
time.
Bye.
Lily, do you have a minute?